Her name is Margaux Helm, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice, specializing in relationship wellness and trauma recovery. Margaux is director of programs at Weave, that's Sacramento's primary provider of domestic violence and sexual assault services for 12 years, and taught in the graduate counselor education program at CSUS. Her talk will focus on how people can improve their interactions with others by healing their raw spots so that they are not reactive, and they learn how to fill their well of love so that they can care about others' happiness and free of expectations. Today, her Soul Talk is titled The Neurobiology, I said I wasn't going to mess that word up. Neurobiology of Loving Relationships. Please welcome Margaux Helm.
Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you. And I'm not sure where Julie is, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm on my edge of discomfort, like she had recommended. So I said, take away the podium. I'm going to do this without notes, so we'll see how it goes. So my practice primarily focuses on relationship wellness, which includes helping people with dating support and clearing out any past trauma that they have so that they can show up in the way that they would like with the people that they love. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my personal and professional journey, what brought me to doing this work, and then talk a little bit about the neuroscience of the brain and what we know now of how our reactions happen inwardly, and then some tips on what you can do to heal your brain. So I named the talk The Neurobiology of Loving Relationships, and I was telling one of my girlfriends that, and she said, that's really boring and sounds heavy. So I've renamed the talk, same content, but renamed it. Now it's Tame Your Brain to Stop the Pain. So I was looking on Facebook, which I don't do very often, but RJ had this wonderful quote that he just posted, and I thought, well, that goes really well with my talk. And it's that in ordinary moments, perhaps 1,000 times a day, we are confronted with the opportunity to be disturbed, which also means we're confronted with the opportunity to love. So in my own journey, I started, I'm from California, from Sacramento, and my family was Irish Catholic, and I am the youngest of 6 siblings, and I have 5 older brothers. So this is a karmic setup, right? So in our family, very functional on the outside, physician father, big Irish Catholic family. But inside there were the rules of don't talk, don't feel, right? And there was also the elephant in the living room that my mother struggled with addiction, that she used alcohol and the mother's little helper at the time, Valium, to cope with this huge family. So luckily, she went into recovery when I was about 12. So I started on my spiritual path of recovery when I was about 12. And despite learning a lot about being a child of an alcoholic, doing a lot of my own therapy work, when I started dating and looking for a suitable mate, I really didn't have a lot of tools, because remember, they don't talk, so we don't really talk about anything. The dating advice I got was, don't get pregnant before you're married. So when I met my husband-to-be at that time, even though I was a little bit older later in life, and I knew him from high school, so I thought, no, I know this person and this is going to work out fine. I really didn't see the red flags that I should have seen. And so we got married, and 7 years later, I realized this person is addicted to pot. And this person is doing some compulsive behaviors regarding sex, regarding pornography. And I tried to fix it, like the codependent that I was conditioned to be. I couldn't fix it. So we divorced, went through a painful healing process with the divorce. And at the same time, I start working at Weave, right? So I'm helping all of these people who are in emotionally and physically abusive relationships and trying to understand, like, okay, all these people came together with that same feeling of love and the commitment that we're going to honor and respect each other through time. Yet, in months or years, they're physically, emotionally, sexually, financially abusing one another. What is happening here? And I became very motivated to learn everything I could about healthy relationships and about dating so that I didn't make the same mistakes and I could help all of these other people not make the same mistake, and to know what red flags are, what priorities are, what their values are. So that's what led me into where I am now, and so excited to share this information about the brain, because in the last 20 years, we know more about it than we have in all the time prior to the last 20 years. And this helps us. We've known like certain things work in therapy, but now there's a little bit more information of why they work in therapy. But even the greatest neuroscientists don't know, and they say they don't know. Like, this is so complex that none of us know exactly how it works, but we have some more clues. So there is a neuroscientist by the name of Dan Siegel who explains it really easily, and so I'm going to do that now for you. So if this is your brain, this is the front of your head, the back of your head. This is the brain stem, and in the brain stem is where the fight, flight, and freeze response is. It's the most primitive, the first to evolve. And then this part is the midbrain, which holds the limbic system. So the amygdala is the alarm system, and this is what's related to more like the emotions and attachment. This is more the autonomic nervous system and the body, the physical. And then on top, we've got the cortex. So this is more the rational and the cognitive, our thinking self. And then the last to evolve is the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the part that allows us to observe. To a certain degree, this is our more spiritual part, in that it allows us to be calm and to not be reactive to everything else that's going on underneath. So if we've got one brain here, what happens is that if we feel threatened, the immediate response is to go deep in the brain. Because this is the primitive part. So this is the part when we were cave people and we needed to fight off saber-toothed tigers to survive. So when we feel threatened, that's where we go, and we actually flip our lid, right? So we stop thinking. You know, our cognitive, rational observer is no longer working. And so you see this in like road rage. So sometimes people will be, cutting someone off, and then you hear that they shot him, right? Or they got out of the car and they started pounding on the car. Well, there wasn't really a life-threatening situation there, but their brain went off. Right? They weren't able to understand that, oh, this person might have been having a bad day, or maybe that person didn't see me. They take it as like this personal attack. So so what happens in relationships, and you might notice that the people who are around you, who are from your family of origin, or your spouse, the ones that are closest to you are the ones that can push your buttons the most. And usually they're the ones who created your buttons, or are a reflection of those who created your buttons. And so when we're in relation to those who we want to be the most loving to, they're also the ones that it's most difficult for us to be loving to at times. So we've got the one person who's got something going on, so their lid is flipped, and then we have their partner. Or it could be the mom, or the brother, or the child, it doesn't matter. So one person's lid flips, and then that often will flip the other person's lid, right? And then you both, then it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault, right? That you flipped my lid, Why did you do that? So then what happens sometimes is both lids are flipped. And in intimate partner relationships, sometimes in other family relationships, what starts to happen is that they don't even want to deal with each other anymore. And they start avoiding and isolating. A lot of times they're past this stage when they come to therapy. And then sometimes they even stop communicating with each other because they don't want their lids flipped anymore. And then if there's an addiction going on, then they're often having a relationship, whether it be with gambling or shopping or a substance. They're not even dealing with their partner anymore. So the therapeutic process is getting them back in the same room, letting go of any addictive behaviors, which is a whole nother talk, and then having them face one another again, risk flipping each other's lids, and learning how to take control and be responsible for their own limbic system. So pretty soon, they're at a point of where their lid isn't flipping as high, and maybe one person is learning how to stay grounded even though the partner's lid is flipping, and how to even help calm one another so that they're able to help each other stay in a loving state. So there are a few things that I want to share with you that can help you to tame your brain. And one of the things is to fill your well with love and allow yourself to be loved. And a lot of times we get into the predicament that we're looking at one person to love us. A lot of times it's our spouse, sometimes it'll be our child, sometimes our parent, and we want this person to fill us with love. And number one person can't do all the loving you need anyway, but it's also very important to make sure that this person is somebody who has the capacity to do that. And not everyone does, because there's a lot of people who are drained and empty walking around in our world, right? And if we're looking for somebody who isn't filled up with love and in overflowing, they're not able to give it to us. And then we're disappointed. So finding the people who are able to love us and getting loved. And what does that mean? We're not talking sexual love here. We're talking about being vulnerable, telling your truth, feeling heard, acknowledged. And that takes risk to be able to say, I feel really empty and afraid right now. And so finding out who those people are in your life and then making those connections on a regular basis is really important. So the second thing is healing your past. So your past, like JG was saying, is something that, we sometimes wish that we could just, it doesn't matter anymore because it's not here now. But we know that all of our belief systems really started when we were 5 or younger. And often many of our experiences start compounding whatever that belief is that we had when we were that young. And many of us have tried to think our way out of, I feel bad, I'm not bad, and it's like, it's slow going. So there are therapies now that are based on brain science that help to accelerate our growth. One of those that I used when I was going through my process of healing from my first marriage is that EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, because we know that the movement, bilateral movement, like in REM sleep, helps us to make those memories that are maladaptive, the I am bad memories, link with things that are positive. And that helps someone to not go in that looping cycle of dysfunction. So I found that to be very helpful. And then lastly, just enjoying the present now, which this really speaks to what Julie was saying too, is being authentic and making those choices of the things that make you happy, because our brain has a negativity bias. So bad stuff sticks like Velcro and the good stuff slides right off, right? So we need to saturate ourselves with the things that make us feel happy and safe, so that prefrontal cortex gets more of our energy. Most of us are down, in these a lot with our everyday stresses of life and family. So we need to be giving energy to this area. Another thing that can be really helpful is taking 5 or 10 minutes of mindfulness daily, watching our thoughts, not getting stuck in our emotions, just spending some time in that observer. Another really great time to do that is right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. They're very powerful times, and those are sometimes the times where our mind is churning on what I should be doing, what I did wrong. Change that up and think about what you are experiencing that is positive, what you're grateful for, what you hope to be learning that is going to be a positive thing, and utilize that time in that way. So I want to bring the story, my life story, to a positive thing of that I just shifted from being director at Weave to private practice, living more in my authentic life. And after 5 years of doing all of the dating and learning all the ins and outs, I met my partner, Walter. And and we are going to be married about 4 years in August. And so I just know the power of changing these things and learning these skills, because the quality of life is so much better when we can allow this love to be internalized, and that we're not acting out of these times and out of that limbic system, and are able to share that with people, so we are in the overflow instead of the emptiness. So thank you all. I'm just very happy to be here, and I'm feeling the love right now. Okay. So I'd just like to open it up for you to share, anything you would like regarding the talk, or if you have questions, but also just the things that you do to help you feel more loved and loving. If you have any examples that you can share with all of us today.
Thank you, RJ. Hi, I'm Jennifer.
Okay, Jennifer.
I have had a pretty exciting year, and one of the things that I've discovered is the joy of making my inner child of innocence the object of my affection. And I steal those words from Matt Kahn, if any of you have read his book. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
He talks about making that innocent center the object of your affection. And I've been one of those people that struggled with self-love. I didn't know it. I knew self-loathing. You know, the addiction and the family and all those typical stories that we hear. But finding out the joy of really, well, part of this has been enhanced because of early childhood education. I've been switching careers from massage therapy into early childhood education. And it teaches us, you know, that all of us, like you said, are formed by 5 years old. And so I look around the room, I look at everyone in my life, and all of us are little 5-year-olds in these whatever age bodies, right? So if somebody's like acting really foolish, you just kind of smile and go, oh, you know, you're just having a tantrum. You know, you're just that little 5-year-old having a tantrum. Or if you're acting delightful, like I saw it in RJ when you rang the bell, the very first bell, it was, you were so excited by getting us all quieted down. I saw this beautiful little 5-year-old, and I'm starting to see that. It makes it so joyful to love all of you and to love me. I just thought that that might be useful for somebody.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, seeing that innocent part inside, I think, is beautiful, because having, many of us having those negative experiences, and some people, you know, they say, oh, I had the perfect childhood, you know, and then I hear, except, you know, my brother, you know, used to beat me, and I was, you know, all these things. I'm like, how does that all work? So, you know, sometimes we don't even realize what we've taken on, and that this innocence inside, that we all have that ability to recognize, because we all are that. Yeah, great.
Margaux, I need some dating advice. So in the past, when I've fallen in love with somebody, I did not flip my lid for the first 6 months. But after 6 months, my lid started flipping. Do you have any advice as to why that happens or what that's all about?
Well, thank you, George. So that is part of the mystery of love, isn't it? That when we get together, we feel this attraction, and there's all this chemical combination that's going together. So we have these hormones surging, we have oxytocin, which is creating all these happy, warm feelings inside of us, and we think that it's going to be like this forever. And that's why when I said weave, I mean, many of these abusive relationships, they have very quick startup. And so that's one of the some of the dating advice is that you're not getting overly attached before your brain's able to catch up with your chemical cocktail inside. So what happens is the cocktail, dies down, and then you're left with whatever that is, those belief systems that may be not serving you, and the person starts pushing those buttons if they're unhealed, which we all have some of those. So that's why it shows up later for most people. And sometimes it can be much later, and sometimes it can be just within days or weeks. Thank you, George.
I've come up with the theory that there's at least 3 relationships in every relationship. There's the one that you think you have, there's the one you want, and there's the one you have.
That's very profound.
Hey, we have a question or comment over here.
Hi, my name is Linda, and following up on what Jennifer said, looking around the room, I'm 73 and I'm dealing with all these 5-year-old issues. As a result, when my husband passed away last year, brought up all kinds of past things that went way back to my childhood, and I'm still dealing with it now, and it's hard, but all I can say is it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm just trying.
Well, you're very courageous. I mean, I think that recognizing those and dealing with that type of work at whatever age we are is extremely courageous. And to be authentic with it, I really appreciate you sharing that. Yeah.
I have a comment. Well, there's a couple of things that were popping through my mind, but so I like the quote, there's like 1,000 opportunities to be disturbed. Whenever I flip my lid, there's, it's probably either cortisol or adrenaline or some chemicals get in my body. So even after I calm down, in the process of spending like a minute or two to calm down, I'm feeling all these chemicals shooting through me. And so I guess that's just a natural part of it. And do you know how long it takes those chemicals to go away?
I think that part of our training and these wonderful opportunities that we have is that the more that we do it, the less visceral it becomes. We kind of desensitize ourselves through time to these buttons I'm talking about. So it's going to be different for all of us depending upon what those buttons are and how many chemicals are coming up, et cetera. But I bet that they're less than they were 10 years ago. Yeah.
Now, follow-up question. How often do you flip your lid when you're a therapist, when you're with a couple?
That's part of the therapeutic manner, you know. It can be challenging, but I get many opportunities.
I can answer that. Because after the therapy, she comes back and talks to me. I can't believe what they were doing. Never actually flipping her lid, but it's she comes out very calm and relaxed and says, "My gosh, they really need some more help."
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Margaux.